What's up, YouTube? Erod212 here with another episode of The Back Nine. Yes, it's that time again. Today's topic is going to be best team up or meetings to invest in. And it's a topic that covers a broad array of books, but as we've seen with like Doctor Strange meeting up with the Scarlet Witch and when Moon Knight met up with Blade and other books like that, those books do tend to pop there. If you can find them in the dollar bins or you can find them at other locations, then then they're worth investing. There are also some other ones that you might really want to look at. There's some really cool ones in this. But before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to my man Ben C from CBSI for putting this amazing website together. If you're not checking out that website, there's a link in the description. Go check it out. Also, big shout out to my man Phil Lee from Vintage Comics and Toys for compiling all of this information and putting it up. Go check out the website. Go check those guys out. Both awesome guys. And you know what? Let's get started with this right now. All right. So Phil writes, a popular trend is first meetings and first team-ups. Our team tries to tackle this topic for what we thought would be the best investment given the buy-in. Some pricier than others and some picks completely off the radar. As always, feel free to drop your suggestions for easiest indie to be optioned. Good stuff. There's always some great books to invest in. I would love to hear comments from everybody on this. Comment on CBSI. Also comment on the bottom there, because that's the way we share information and we all figure out exactly what we want to take a look at. Always fun that way, I think, at least, in my opinion. But you know what? Let's take a look at the next pick and see what they have picked for us, all right? So Peter Renner goes with Nova number 2, the 1 in 25 variant, the first meeting of Richard Rider and Sam Alexander. Okay, I am going to go with Nova number 2, first actual meeting of both Novas. Not the BS Nova 11 where Sam is talking to the world mind, but the real deal first meeting of Sam and Richard. We talked about this on my YouTube channel recently. I like the 1 in 25 cover, but the regular is cool too, which we did it in the dollar bin digging. Both are still very cheap, and regardless of which Nova we get first, I think there is no doubt we're going to get both very soon after that first intro. What Pete says there, I'm going to go along with it to some degree. I think we are going to see both of them, but Richard Rider probably is going to be a series and then maybe a movie before we get to see Sam Alexander. But I think he will hand over that mantle. I think that's a good choice right there. And now for our next pick, we're going to go right here. And Jack Kornblatt writes, SpiderMan number 1, the second print, is the first meeting of Peter Parker and Miles Morales. My pick is SpiderMan number 1, second print. Peter and Miles meeting up in live action is inevitable. So it's a really good idea to invest in the first time they meet in the comics. Some people want to argue that Spider-Man number 2 is a true first meeting of those two characters, but I think that is not a good spec. It's tough to argue the idea that there is any such thing as a cameo first meetup, and comic book fans are way more likely to flock to the book with the number 1 on it. Given that Spider-Man number 1 had a really large print run, investors would be smart to try and buy up rarer variants and printings like this one, that are much tougher to find and will stand out when copies of the first print flood the market. And I'm telling you now, copies of that first print are going to flood the market. We've seen it with Thor, if you watch my most recent video, and we've seen it with Moon Knight. It's just once those trailers drop, you get a rash influx of books into eBay and other places, and then it stabilizes a little bit, but some books really pop like that. That Jane Foster Thor, it's not losing any steam. If anything, it's picking up steam. I think it has something to do with the way that Natalie Portman looked. It's very comic accurate. To the point where, she really bulked up for the show. So that's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with that movie. I think the Lady Thor will be not a one and done. I think she's too big a character for them to just move along after and especially with all the effort she puts in to get, size and everything. But let's take a look at the next one because it's a real good one. So Topher goes with Amazing Spider-Man number 12, the Isanov 1 in 25 variant. First meeting of Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. The first issue is where they are in the same location is ASM 10. Neither of them ever says something that is directed at the other one, even as part of a group. But I went through all the books. They appear together before the Kiss issue, and they never actually talk to one another. But in that Kiss issue, they talk to one another as people who have already met. The regular cover where they kiss on cover is also a great investment. And if you guys have not seen that cover, I mean, it's iconic. It's kind of like an homage to Spider-Man with Mary Jane Watson or Gwen when he comes down and mask off. They're, facing each other upside down and kissing. I think that book has legs. That Isanov is a tough book to get in a 9.8 just because of, the full black background, and it's a 1 in 25. Miles Morales was not selling super great at that point, so I would love to know the print run on that because I don't think it's super high. And now Terry Harkness goes with a classic. He goes with World's Finest number 71, the first team up of Batman and Superman. Batman and Superman could be the two most important superheroes ever, and they finally meet in this one. Paying $500 isn't so bad for this Golden Age key book. This should be in everyone's collection if you collect vintage comics. And I agree. If you're a vintage comic collector, that should be in your collection, as should the meme issue where Batman is slapping Robin. Those are all books where, they hit certain demographics. Superman, unfortunately, doesn't resonate with the modern collectors, especially like the comic books. The movies do well, and he stands out as a character, and the cartoons do well, but his books really don't sell well unless they are big keys, your first appearances, your first Brainiac, and things like that. Those books will always move, but for the most part, just filler Superman books, they don't do well anymore. It's kind of gone the way of Westerns and all of that stuff. Batman, on the other hand, keeps getting made more modern, and you've had people just write great story arcs for him. And he still stands out till today. You just look in when you go to the shop and see how many copies and how many titles Batman has as compared to Superman. It's an easy way of telling. All right, so now Steve Horn goes with a classic, and he goes with Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1, first team up of the Sinister Six. Rarely does the MCU or Sonyverse map exactly to the comics, and the Sinister Six will be no exception. Regardless of the members shown in the movies, this 1964 annual will remain a key. It is poised to continue its impressive growth in value. And the thing with this book, man, it has not lost any steam, even with other movies that haven't done so well. Everybody wants that Sinister Six. I picked up my copy just before the pandemic, and I'm glad I got it when I did. It's a 3.5, but I was happy with it, just a really nice book to own. And if you're a Spider-Man completionist, then that is one of the titles that you must have. Now we're going to go with the next slide. And Mighty Mel V goes with Ironheart number 9, the first meeting of Shuri and Ironheart. I think Riri makes an appearance in Black Panther 2, and people forgot about this book. Good time to buy the dip. You see, that's why me and Mel think alike. That's a book you buy right now. Always buy these books on the dip. Try and get them on the upswing. It's economics. That's the way. If you're looking to flip something, you make a few bucks. If you're looking to add it to your collection, you don't pay as steep a price, because a lot of these books go down. And we saw it with the plunge with a lot of these other titles. They started dipping, and everybody was, oh my God, the comic industry is going to tank. Blah 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 blah. What's happened? Last few months, everything's peaking up again. But books like that, there's no word of Riri anymore. It's kind of like settled down in the Black Panther issues. That's a book I would pick up now. Now, Valiant goes with Power Man number 48, the first meeting of Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Luke Cage meets Iron Fist. So here's an assist Peter gave to us from Valiant from a previous video on Redivision. This book was a huge book during that Netflix phase, and I think we can count on it to being important again. If you guys are not watching Redivision, please go check out that channel. Just a great channel. They're close to 2,000 subs on there. Peter Renner does a fantastic job. Gives you stuff like this plus more stuff, really in depth. He really does a lot of research and digging and brings good content to the channel. But that Power Man book, I mean, that's the first meeting of Power Man and Iron Fist. I just hope that it's Danny Rand that gets recast in any form, and we'll see what happens. But that's just too iconic a duo. And besides that, you bring Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, and all those other characters that come out of there. Just a fun series. Now, Chris Nelms is going to go with Invincible number 57, the first Astounding Wolfman Invincible meetup. The Astounding Wolfman is supposedly to get a spin-off, and his first meetup with probably the hottest indie character in the market is what I think is underrated. As the Invincible universe is expanding, I highly recommend this book. See, that's pretty cool that the Invincible universe is expanding, because the cartoon series was just amazing. And hopefully they can keep doing stuff like that. Doesn't have to be live action. You can have those animated series and that take off and always do well. And now Phil goes with Web Warriors number 7, the first meeting of Spider-Gwen and Spider-Punk. If Spider-Punk is supposed to be a major character that shows up in the next Miles Morales movie, then why not focus on the first time Spider-Gwen and Spider-Punk meet formally for the first time? You also get the first Spider Slayers, Spider-Punk's band, and later in the run, Spider-Punk and Spider-Gwen jam Mad Max style during a huge battle scene. Yeah, it's something I didn't read, but those crossovers always do well. And there's a lot of speculation on a Spider-Punk character. I mean, especially like Marvel just went out and released a Spider-Punk series. Why would they do that? They don't normally release series unless it's going to be something that they're looking to speculate on or jump onto because they have a future project coming for that. And talk about team-ups and meetups and stuff like that. I'm going to show you guys my pick now. Let me know what you guys think of this pick. I think it's a good one. It's a book you don't see a lot in the wild, but it has a nice price tag to it. But I think it's so important to not only Marvel continuity, but possibly the MCU, that it might be a book that you might want to look at. All right. And I'm going to go with this pick right here. And that's Strange Tales Annual number 2. Although they met previously in ASM 1 and ASM 3, this is the first time that the Human Torch and Spider-Man team up to fight a villain. Throughout the years, this duo has teamed up on many occasions. Being so close in age and both being heroes, this tandem has a lot in common. With the FF coming to the MCU, I can easily see this team up occurring in a movie. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Both Johnny Storm and Peter Parker, teenage boys when they're coming up through the series, but, into adulthood and everything like that. Marvel team up number 1, Spider-Man and the Human Torch. It's just happened throughout eras. They started out as antagonists against each other, but became really close friends who had a lot in common. And it's funny because when you look at the two spectrums, Spider-Man is kind of like that nerdy, quiet guy, and Human Torch is this playboy, not playboy, but, popular, young, fun, good-looking kid. But yet, in their superhero identities, they both have a lot in common. And I like that pick. I like that pick a lot, but let me know what you guys think. Those are the picks, but don't forget, the 3 Men in the Basement crawl is coming in May. Make sure you're there. They just dropped their video with all the pre-show vendors that they listed for everyone. Go check out that video. Take a look at what they've got there. Also, if you've got nothing to do and you want to see some good spec picks, take a look at these videos here, because you're going to get some fun stuff out of these ones too. And that's it for now. Until my next video, peace.